History books tell us that World War I was fought with trenches, barbed wire, poison gas, and millions of young men sent into the mud. They tell us about generals, treaties, and maps redrawn in blood. What they tend to leave out is that one of the most decorated American heroes of the war didn't carry a rifle. He had 4 legs, a stubby tail, and absolutely no interest in military protocol. This is the story of Sergeant Stubby, a stray dog who wandered onto a training field, crossed the Atlantic, survived the deadliest weapons of his time, and became a genuine war hero. In 1917, the United States was late to the First World War. Europe had already been tearing itself apart for nearly 3 years. Entire generations of young men had vanished into trenches stretching from the English Channel to the Swiss border. The war had stalled into a brutal stalemate, measured not in miles gained, but in lives lost. America's army was small, inexperienced, and unprepared for modern industrial warfare. So the nation rushed to train. At Yale University in New Haven, Connecticut, soldiers of the 102nd Infantry Regiment drilled endlessly. They marched, they practiced salutes, they learned discipline, and they tried to imagine what awaited them overseas, though none of them truly could. It was there, amid the dust and shouted commands, that history took an unexpected turn. Because one day, a dog showed up. No one knows exactly where he came from. He simply appeared on the training grounds, hungry, curious, and completely unafraid of the men in uniform. He was a mutt, part bulldog, part Boston Terrier, perhaps mixed with something else entirely. Short and muscular, alert eyes, and a naturally short, cropped tail. The soldiers fed him. He stayed. They named him Stubby, after his tail. At first, he was just a camp mascot, something familiar and comforting during long, repetitive days of training. But Stubby was unusually attentive. He watched the soldiers constantly. When they sat, he sat. When they stood at attention, he stood too. And slowly, almost impossibly, he began to learn. Stubby responded to bugle calls. He recognized commands, not because anyone trained him, but because he observed. He learned when to be quiet, when to move, when to stop. Then came the trick that made him famous within the regiment. Stubby learned to salute. When officers approached, Stubby would raise his paw to his brow, mimicking the soldiers around him. It wasn't trained, it was imitation, and it delighted the men. Not everyone was amused. Dogs were not allowed in the US Army. Officers made that very clear. But Stubby didn't care about regulations, and neither, increasingly, did the men who had grown attached to him. When orders came for the 102nd Infantry to ship out for France, Stubby followed them to the docks. Somehow he slipped aboard the transport ship. By the time an officer discovered him mid-voyage, paws on the deck, ears up, completely at ease, it was too late to turn back. Stubby had crossed the Atlantic. Just like that, a stray dog became part of the American Expeditionary Forces. France was nothing like Connecticut. The Western Front was a world of mud and noise and fear. Trenches snaked across the landscape, collapsing under rain and shellfire. Artillery thundered day and night. The air smelled of smoke, rot, and unwashed bodies. For soldiers, it was overwhelming. For Stubby, it was something else. Dogs experienced the world primarily through sound and smell, and on the battlefield, those senses were priceless. Stubby learned quickly. He learned the difference between outgoing artillery and incoming shells. He recognized the high, deadly whistle that preceded an explosion, and when he heard it, he reacted. Stubby would bark violently and race through the trenches, warning men to duck and take cover, often seconds before shells slammed into the earth. Those seconds mattered. Again and again, Stubby gave soldiers just enough time to survive. Then came the gas. Chemical weapons were one of the war's most terrifying innovations. Chlorine gas, phosgene, mustard gas, invisible killers that crept silently into trenches, burning lungs, blistering skin, and blinding eyes. Men who didn't put on their gas masks in time suffocated where they stood. Stubby learned the smell. Long before humans could detect it, Stubby sensed poison gas drifting toward Allied positions. When he did, he howled, he barked, he bit at sleeping soldiers, and refused to calm down until gas masks were on. He became a living early warning system. During one gas attack, Stubby himself was injured. He inhaled fumes and collapsed. Medics rushed him to treatment alongside wounded men. And when he recovered, he learned something new: the gas mask. From that moment on, Stubby wore one, just like the soldiers he served beside. Stubby served in 17 battles across France. He was wounded more than once, gassed, injured by shrapnel, exhausted by constant movement and noise. But he never left the front. And while Stubby saved lives through his senses, his greatest contribution may have been something harder to measure: morale. World War I was a war of despair. Long stretches of terror punctuated by boredom, endless waiting, endless loss. Stubby was a reminder of normalcy. He played with soldiers between bombardments. He slept beside them in trenches. He followed them on patrols. He gave them something living and loyal to care about in a world designed to strip away humanity. In letters home, soldiers wrote about him. In photographs, he appeared again and again, muddy, alert, always present. Then, one night, Stubby did something no one expected. Near Allied trenches, Stubby sensed something wrong. A man was moving quietly through the area, deliberately avoiding detection. He wore a uniform, but it didn't belong. Stubby charged. He bit the man and refused to let go, barking furiously until soldiers arrived. When they searched the prisoner, they made a startling discovery. The man was a German spy, attempting to gather intelligence under cover of darkness. Stubby had captured an enemy combatant. It was unprecedented. For this act, Stubby received an unprecedented honour. Stubby was officially promoted. He became Sergeant Stubby, the first dog in US military history to receive a rank for combat service. No formal training, no handler, no orders, just instincts and loyalty. He wore medals, he wore a uniform, and he continued to serve until the war ended. When the guns finally fell silent in 1918, Sergeant Stubby returned home with the soldiers he had fought beside. America fell in love. He marched in victory parades. Crowds cheered. Newspapers ran stories about the dog who fought the Kaiser. He met generals and dignitaries. He met 3 US presidents: Woodrow Wilson, Calvin Coolidge, and Warren G. Harding. Stubby wore a custom-made jacket decorated with medals and campaign ribbons. He became the mascot of Georgetown University, where his former handler, Robert Conroy, attended law school. From stray to celebrity. It's easy to tell Stubby's story as a novelty. A cute dog in a uniform. But that misses the point. Stubby wasn't a prop. He wasn't a trick. He was a working battlefield asset, at a time when technology failed as often as it succeeded. His senses outperformed early warning systems. His presence stabilized men under unimaginable stress. Modern militaries now formally train dogs for detection, protection, and combat roles. Stubby did all of that, without manuals, without doctrine, and without knowing he was making history. Sergeant Stubby lived out his final years peacefully. When he died in 1926, his legacy was already secure. Today, his preserved body is displayed at the Smithsonian Institution's National Museum of American History. A quiet reminder that heroism doesn't always look like a man with a rifle. Sometimes it looks like a muddy dog barking into the chaos to warn his friends. Stubby never chose the war, but when it found him, he stood his ground, and history has been saluting him ever since. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more true stories of the remarkable animals that helped shape human history, please share and hit the like, subscribe and alert bell to show your support.